Hi, welcome everyone to BNZ Connect Online, our webinar series for small business customers. We appreciate your time this morning coming in and talking to myself and Wendy. I think the social media industry and how small businesses can use it is even more important in the current environment. So I'm sure it's going to be a great session. Just a couple of housekeeping things. First, there's a Q&A at the bottom. So if you'd like to ask a question, that'd be great. The information is being recorded for BNZ marketing purposes, and we are going to send the workbook, and there's also a PDF doc with more information for you. So I'd like to introduce Wendy. It's lovely to see you.
Nice to see you too, Glenn. Fun to be here and back again talking about all the things that I love to do, being social media and helping small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, no, I heard you a few months ago talking, and I thought you're outstanding with your expertise and the practical nature of your advice. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you.
Thank you. It's going to be fun. We've got lots to talk about. I don't know how we're going to get everything into the time, but we'll manage.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be a bell or something.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us like a quick run through of Socialites and what you do?
Yeah, no, sure. So so I founded, my background is advertising and marketing. I've been literally creating ads since I was like 3 or 4 years old. I know, for my sins. It's a weird career. Some people save the world and I make ads. But really what it's about is what I've realized is actually that connection between business owners and people who love like the products and the things that they want to do, and connecting them to people who actually love and enjoy and want to become part of their story. So I founded, I worked at all the big ad agencies, and then about 10 years ago, actually just over 10 years, I started a company called Socialites, which is started with a laptop on one knee and a baby on the other. So all you small business owners out there, I feel you, I've done it. And now, I'm really excited. I've sort of grown it over the last 10 years to be, we just won a big award a couple of days ago, actually, Silver in Campaign Asia for Social Media Agency of the Year, which is really exciting across all of Asia. Yeah, really excited. And got a big team. We work across lots of different countries. And New Zealand's a fantastic place to do business. So exciting times.
I know for me, one of the key things that had changed. So I used to go to a conference, pick up a bunch of customers for the year. And so my social media was reasonably light, and obviously I can't travel, and the whole plan was changed. I used to quite like having 2 weeks away on my own. But so I know you got some stats. So what's happened with social media and learning and how people are interacting with media?
Yeah, well, I've got a great slide. Oh, how do I get my slide to go? There we go. Oh, there's us. Look, do I look like that? Yep. Same photo, get my laptop out. And thanks, BNZ, for having me today. So this is a great slide because it shows the audience viewing habits over the last, few, I suppose, 10 years, really. And in 2010, 2011, when I started my company, social media, and I remember presenting these things going, look guys, there's 100, people spending an hour and a half on social media every day. And that was at the time about 750,000 Kiwis. So it was worthwhile, but it was, nothing compared to other media channels like TV there, where it's 4 hours. And now, over the years, it's just gone like this. And now we're looking at people are on average spending over, almost 3.5 hours a day on social media, whereas TV has plummeted right down to under an hour, which is just the way that we're wanting to communicate. And it's happening because we're using, social media is more than just a broadcasting platform. It's a two-way communication, really. Sure. And people respond to that. They like that. They want to get involved. They want to find out about people's brands. They want to see what Donald Trump's doing. It's fantastic as an advertiser and as a marketer, because it's a direct link to hundreds of thousands of your customers and potential customers. Yeah. So as a marketer, absolutely amazing.
Sure. Yeah. I've got 4 daughters.
Oh, yes.
For my sons, and sometimes I go into I'm blessed. One will look after me, I'm sure, in my old age. And sometimes I'll go into the lounge, and my wife Kate and all 4 of them are like on their phones, and the TV's on, and I sort of roll my eyes or wait and see how long somebody will pay attention to me, which can take a while sometimes, which is fair. But the other day, we were watching a historical drama about Anne Boleyn.
Yeah.
And so while we were watching it, we were working out Henry VIII had a son. So we actually were using social media to find out what happened to him while watching the program. So is it mashing, or what's the term? I forget what it's called.
Yeah, like it is. Like people call it second screening.
Right.
Is the term. And there's some interesting stats around. I think I've got a slide somewhere, not in this presentation, but it's something like people are on TV and they're on their screens at the same time, and you can actually time your communications to go out. Like, for example, if you've got a sponsorship on the block and then you time a whole lot of like activity to happen on your social media channels at the same time, people will be interacting like on your, say, Facebook channel, but also while they're watching the block live, so live events, which is not so relevant for those sort of TV shows nowadays, but really relevant for sporting events coming up. Like we've got, obviously the America's Cup coming up. I'm involved in the Rugby World Cup next year, 2021, which I'm super excited about. It's going to be the biggest event in the world, with New Zealand hosting the Rugby World Cup next year. And so, for example, everyone's going to be just on their screens and messaging while watching our girls hopefully beat everybody else. Yeah.
Was that where I saw the picture of you and Jacinda?
Yes, that was me and Jacinda. Jacinda's a big supporter of women's sport and making sure it's up there with the men's and making it a commercial opportunity. So it's really exciting. Plus, because of COVID, there's not a lot else going on next year. So it's a real chance for New Zealand to show how wonderful we are at hosting big international events.
I'm obviously an advocate of women's sport as well with daughters, but yes, Samantha, my youngest, she's in the under 17 New Zealand team squad.
Wow,
it's pretty exciting. Cool. So if we want to make it part of the marketing mix and integrate social media, are there some steps people can take? What
best way to do it? Yeah, well, here's something we prepared earlier. So what we've actually sent, I think, to everyone either just before or just after. If you haven't got it, you can download it through the BNZ website, I think, and make it available for people. It's actually like a template that we go through, and I'll take you through this then. And this sort of talks at a very top-line level, but I find it so a really great structure to follow for your company and for your business in terms of how social media fits into your overall sort of marketing and sales efforts. Yep. Most important thing first is like we call unlocking your community, and it's not about building your community or finding your community. It's more than that. I wholeheartedly believe that everybody has a big pool of people out there that like want to support you and in your business. People will fall in love with your business. It's just a matter of unlocking them and sort of bringing them to life and giving them the chills. So we sort of talk about from a marketing point of view, we know we're using strategic content, engaging conversations with your audience. But from a social media point of view, how we bring that to life is by making sure our content talks to our story, using social media advertising and considering influencers or brand ambassadors to help us out. And then we've sort of got these 3 pillars. And if you walk your company through these, it's quite a good way to do it, really. So we first talk about, say, capturing data. Number 1, measure what you manage what you can measure. It's one of our goals up on our brand values that we've got up on our wall. Measure everything. And it's really important to capture that key data about your audiences. And that's a matter of sort of really understanding who your business target is. So when I often talk to business owners, I'll be like, right, okay, so who are you selling to? And they'll be like, everyone. And I'm like, okay, I think we can do better than that. We can sure, it's not everybody. So it's actually really understanding from a psychographic and a demographic point of view who you're talking to. So for example, if you're a little cafe, you're wanting to talk to everyone probably in your immediate area that is like within, 10 minutes walking distance from your cafe. If you're selling like a fitness product, your target market might be, guys between 25 and 35, for example, who are really into sports. I'm making these up. They're fictitious businesses, but I think it's really important for each business to understand who their core audience is and what makes them tick. What do they like? What do they love about you? What makes you special? Which is kind of fun. So from a social media point of view, we can track and target all that. And in order to kind of get them together, we can use things like looking at our analytics. On every social media platform, you can get a breakdown of, where people are, what they're into, ages.
I've got a question here from somebody that says just that, actually. Good timing. So what analytics and metrics should a business use and to check if it's worth the effort?
Oh, well, probably the biggest one, I think is your conversion metric. So there's probably there's three that are really important. The first one is and I'll do them in order. So the first one is reach. So that is how many people are actually seeing your content or your messaging that you're putting out there. If you're putting a whole lot of time and effort into telling your story and only 10 people are seeing it a day, that's great if you have a very expensive product that only 10 people ever need. But if you're actually wanting to have a bigger audience, you need to make sure that it's reaching as many of those people as possible. So increasing your reach, really important.
Yep.
Secondly is engagement. Engagement is a metric that basically says how much people like and enjoy and identify with what you're talking about. So it's made up of what they call likes, comments, and shares on Facebook and Instagram, and same on LinkedIn and other platforms. Yep. And it's basically how people are interacting with you on social media, which is important. So your engagement rate, very important. Yep. Anything over about 2% is good. For smaller businesses, you should be aiming more like 10% though, because usually if you're a smaller business, you have a smaller group of people, but they should ideally be highly engaged because they're very involved in your story. Especially right now, people are wanting to shop local, shop Kiwi. Now's the time to get out there and tell your personal story. And the third one, of course, is conversion. So that's when you put, and we talk here about, tracking pixels, putting a pixel, which is a tiny little bit of code on your website and on your sales site, and actually tracking, okay, this person saw my ad 5 days ago, or they saw my piece of content, and now they've come through and they've bought something. So yay. Sure. And which is really important. You want to know that it's hitting the mark. Now there's always a little bit of a grey area in that. For example, my company is a B2B business, and our cycle for getting customers is 1 to 2 years. We'll start talking to someone, and then 1 to 2 years later, they'll become a client, and we know that. So our customer life cycle is long. So for us, engagement and reach is really important. Conversion is harder to track because there's nothing that tracks the whole year in social media, but we have our own systems to do that. But for most more short-term businesses, especially if you're selling a product or a service, you can track everything up to 30 days. If someone looked at your ad last 30 days and bought, it gives you a really great indication.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. With social media, I've been told, be careful, don't hard sell, softly, give things away and all that type of stuff. So I'm trying at the moment mainly a LinkedIn campaign, so I'm conscious of not really annoying people or being too hard sell. So what's your advice for people kind of stuck between not wanting to spam people or be annoying, but also wanting at some stage, maybe I'm 2 years too early to actually get that sort of lead conversion in the end? Yeah,
it's it comes down to the type of business you've got, really. But I'm a big believer in setting up remarketing campaigns.
Okay.
I'm going to flick through to this one, that one there. So we actually talk about, should I put them all on there? Back on there. Remarketing campaigns are really great. So if a remarketing campaign is using that little piece of pixel code again, is when you set up a code. So when someone goes to your website, you kind of know that they've sort of taken that first step of getting to know you. And that second step might be, we used to talk about in the old days of bringing people down a funnel. Now we talk about a circle, bringing them on the circle of your journey. So they might have got to know you a little bit, had a few conversations, and then through remarketing, you can go, okay, now it's time to hit them with a sales message. And it could be as simple as you can do some really fun stuff with and really easily automated on the platforms. If you're selling furniture, for example, you can literally say, okay, we saw that you looked at this chair, Glenn. We think you'd really look great in it. And here's put in this code for a 5% off if you buy in the next, week. So you can actually set up those to automatically run, which just is pretty awesome. Basically automated remarketing, just to clinch that sale, because what do they say? ABC, always be closing.
Yeah, okay.
Always be closing.
Good advice. So I've got another question here, and it's around paid advertising.
Yep.
So should we be spending money in these social media platforms on advertising, and how much? Oh, and does it work?
Does it
Sorry,
work?
three questions in one.
No, it's a really good question, and the short answer is absolutely. The long answer is 10 years ago, there wasn't even any advertising on social. Everything was completely organic.
Sure.
And if you had 1,000 fans following you on your Facebook page, it wasn't even Instagram, on your Facebook page, 1,000 fans would see every message that went out. Right. Now we're down to about 2%. So, of those 1,000 people, 20 people will see your message, right, unless you spend money to get the message out there.
Okay.
So it's a bit hard for people to get their head around, but at the same time, and I work in all advertising mediums, from making TVCs to radio to billboards. Social media is the absolute cheapest advertising, dollar for dollar, that you can do, and you can start with as little as like $10 a day or $10 per campaign. So my advice is always to go, okay, I'm going to get a budget of like, say, $100 and do some testing. So over, say, 2 weeks, I'm going to spend $100, try, say, 5 or 6 different ads, see which ones work for me. And then if I know that if I spend $20 and I'm going to make $200, I'm going to spend a lot more.
What's in your convert box?
What's in my convert box? Oh, that is kind of what we're just talking about, really. It's all about driving action and, getting those buttons clicking, or people walking into your store, or picking up the phone if you're a B2B service provider like me. And that's just what we were talking about before, really, in terms of those social media conversion ads. There are different types of social media ads when you set them up. So there are, and literally you can set it up for a target of awareness, engagement, or conversion. And conversion are more expensive, but they somehow, through the magicness of the algorithms, they actually will show conversion ads to people who are more likely to buy your product. So they might have bought something, if you're selling shoes, they might have bought something similar in the past. And because, as we've all watched The Social Dilemma, they do know what we're doing. They can give the ads to the people who are most likely to be interested in what you're selling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got another question here. It's around the sales team. So should I be using a junior to make contact through social media, or should I be doing it as the principal?
Well, my theory is this is your biggest public facing that you'll be doing, in terms of your brand. This is your most public facing. This is bigger than TV. If you're going to go on breakfast TV every morning, would you send your most junior person out there? Probably not. So that's kind of the headspace. Saying that, from a really practical point of view, I think social media is very time consuming, and you can ask your juniors to do a lot of the legwork for you, as long as you approve it and sign it all off yourself, as the principal, because this is your personal brand and your company brand, and you really need someone senior who is absolutely there to be in charge of it, if not doing it yourself. For example, a lot of my stuff, I have someone help me out and get it all ready to go, but I push the button and check it's right.
Okay.
It's great nowadays as well. There's a whole lot of virtual assistants, and which I've used before, which are brilliant, and just all that time consuming legwork. There's no point you doing that. But all I'd say is that have a process and do just anything, that content that goes out, you should definitely have your eyes over before it.
Yeah.
The go button.
I've got a colleague who runs a company, and they have a number of employees in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And they're paying around $2,000 a month for a full-time salary salesperson.
Amazing. And that's really sensible.
It's crazy, right?
It's a really sensible way to run a business. I mean, we're in an international market now, even though it doesn't feel like it because we're all locked down. But tech's made it, even like what we're doing today, tech's made it really accessible. Yep. And it's smart to do things like that, I personally think.
So what other examples have you got?
What else have I got in here? What I want to talk to people about today a little bit was something that I think is really helpful, especially for small and medium businesses, and harder for large ones. So this is your kind of way to sort of get in there and make a mark. And that's my 1 + 1 = 5. And I know we had a joke about, we probably shouldn't say that at a banking seminar, get in trouble. But then I'm like, but I'm marketing. And this is a really, really awesome advice that I've started telling people, gosh, probably 10 years ago. And I'm seeing it more and more, and it absolutely works fantastically. And all it is, in a nutshell, is finding other businesses that are great or a natural fit for you to collaborate with. And it's so easy to do, and especially on Instagram. All you need to do is find some like-minded businesses, create a prize package, and then both of you promote it on your social media and digital channels. And that way you're kind of cross-pollinating your target audiences. Really cost-effective, amazing bang for buck, hardly costs anything, just requires a bit of, time and thought. And I've got some examples here that I grabbed out the other day, and I literally just saw these on social. And this is one down here with My Sister's Wardrobe and Styled by Steph. And basically it was 5 different companies. So My Sister's Wardrobe gave away some dress rentals. Styled by Steph gave away like a cut and blow wave. Cakes by Robin gave away like a bunch of cupcakes. Renee Gray Makeup gave away a makeup session, and Tailor Made Candles gave away some candles and tea lights. And all of those 5 companies put them on their social media channels, which together is like hundreds of thousands of people. And basically said, all you have to do to enter this amazing prize draw is follow all these brands, comment below, tag in your friends who you'd share it with, and you're off. And that just had like so many, like thousands and thousands of entries, which gave all those brands incredible exposure. And what I loved about that as well is that, someone who's a customer and involved and loves the story of My Sister's Wardrobe is going to be naturally the same sort of person who would be interested in, getting a haircut by Style by Steph. So it's just this really beautiful way of collaboration, which easy to do, doesn't cost much, and simple. You can do it yourself. You don't need an agency. You can just make it work, which is kind of fun. And then there's another example there, Lush Smiles.
It's pretty amazing how you can collaborate or work with other companies. You don't have to meet them. You can, so the amplification piece, isn't it, where you create something once. So not only could you create like a prize package, but you could also collaborate with other things. Could you, like content or writing a white paper together or research, or what else could you collaborate with?
Yeah, well, I mean, white papers and blog posts are really, really good as well for each other's SEO for the back end. So if you can sort of say, hey, can you write me a piece and add these keywords in and do backlinks? I'm not an SEO expert, but I sort of know the basics enough, and that's really good to do. Obviously, running events together, like physical events, is really handy, or even cooler, like an online event. And if you look at the likes of your Black Fridays or Double 11s and things like that, actually running like online sales events together, it's kind of fun. There's collaborations are just great, and whether you're out by an email, social media has that viralness and that one-to-many, which an email doesn't have. Though I am a big believer, like you should be collecting everyone's email addresses, so you've got that personal relationship.
Yeah, what I like about it, Wendy, I guess, is the fact that in the old days, larger companies would be on TV, radio, all the sort of the old mediums, and they would sort of dominate a segment. And now, like really small businesses, literally from the garage or the bedroom, can be running these campaigns with all these other companies, and really punching above their weight. And as a small business advocate, I love that fact that you don't need to be a big corporate or a global player to actually get a whole bunch of awareness and to grow really fast.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And it actually reminds me of a company of a friend of mine, and she uses influencers. She's a complete direct to consumer product, so fits perfectly into segue here, really. Glenn, do you want me to talk about that one?
Yeah, please.
So influencers, a very controversial subject.
If it's the wrong person, yeah, maybe.
Like it really is, but such a powerful asset for small and medium businesses. Like, as you just said before, you can just punch so far above your weight with the help of some of these influencers. And I was thinking about my friend Monique, who has a company called Genora, Kiwi company. They sell collagen and skincare products, completely direct to consumer. And her marketing strategy is amazing because what she's done is she's connected with a whole lot of incredible influencers who just speak to her brand and to who they are as a company. And she's got all sorts of like just a really wide, diverse variety of women that she's working with, and they sort of
examples like
like Millie Elder Holmes,
okay,
and Amber Peebles. The rest of them have gone to my head, which is really embarrassing, but those two off the top of my head, very easy. And yeah, they just spread the word out to their own databases or the audiences of hundreds of thousands of people, but also it kind of becomes, it's a brand ambassadorship as well. Like they embody the Genora sort of woman in terms of sort of being your own woman, not sort of fitting a mold, having something to stand for. And I think when you look at the influencers that she works with, they really are very strong, powerful, a lot of mana kind of woman, and that just immediately puts her above sort of every all the other competition out there that might be in the supermarkets.
I guess you're trading off their credibility, aren't you, or their presence in the market. Do you pay them? Do you give them product? How does that work?
Yeah, well, every company is different, and like I don't know the insides and outs of her company, but we've just had some rules that have come out recently by the Advertising Standards Authority, which is fantastic, and that's made everything really, really clear for everyone. So basically, if you are, one thing that those rules did is they said who is an influencer, and the rule is if you've got like anybody following you, you're an influencer. So like my mum is an influencer technically according to the rules, and like Glenn, you're an influencer according to the rules. But also if you are getting paid anything, whether it's by product, like if you're given some product or money, you have to say that it's an ad and you have to have hashtag ad. So you'll see hashtag ad on a lot of influencers posts now because they might have been given a free lipstick or some product. They'll put hashtag ad on there just so people know, because it does influence what they say. Like if they hadn't been given that product, they might not have done a post. So it's just making it clear for the consumers. But influencers, back to that, the 101, why they are so important, and is that 90% of consumers really do ask around before they buy something. Like we don't trust brands and companies. Like we trust people. So and it's as simple as if you're looking for a new car, you'll jump onto Facebook and go, hey, has anyone tried this car before? Or I need to buy a new washing machine. Anyone got any tips on that? Like we do that. We've always done it. Sure. And this is where influencers are so powerful, because they I don't know how quite they do it. There is a bit of magic to becoming an influencer. Like it's hard, but it's commitment to the audience. But the numbers are absolutely huge, and we're finding, and we've this stat right down the bottom, that you get 11 times higher return on investment using influencer marketing is absolutely true. That's an American stat, but we find that in our socialites campaigns as well, and like so much so that like socialites, we actually had the opportunity to acquire a specialist social media influence agency called the Social Club during the first lockdown, when we just lost like most of our revenue, and we were just like, oh my god, what's happening? April, worst month ever. And we had the opportunity to acquire an influencer agency, and we still went, yep, we're all in, like this is the future. And we had a nice bank, and it all worked out great. But like that's how strongly I believe in influencers.
So for a small business, can they go through an agency like yours to get an influencer? Do they approach the person direct? Like I can imagine a bunch of small businesses thinking, I'm never going to get the Kardashians on my
They are hard, though. Interestingly, the Kardashians are working with some Kiwi companies at the moment, like Dose & Co, which is the by Zero Edge. So Kiwis can do it. But working with a business, I'm a big believer in, like, you can either work with an agency like Socialites, come to us, we can help, or if you can go to them directly as well. And here's just a few tips if you do decide to go directly, of what I just think is really important to check. So first of all, you want to, like, these are kind of like your watch outs and your, I think we've got this now, your checklist. But you want to be able to check the audience, because they might look, they might be a 30-year-old fitness model, but all their audience are actually like 50-year-old guys. So that's not who you need to look at who their audience is and see if that fits who your audience is, rather than just who they are as a person. How many people they're reaching, and that also ask them for their rate card. Like most, they'll actually tell you how much it'll, is it,
that was a question.
Yeah. $1,000 for a Instagram story, or is it, and prices really range massively. If you've got millions and millions of followers, your numbers are up there.
Sure.
Also really important to have a contract or an agreement with what the clear deliverables are. So what type of content it is, whether it's a story or a post, when it's going to go out, so you know how to amplify it yourself. If it's going to be monitored, because you don't want something going out and then it just goes into the ether.
Sure.
What hashtags to use. I could do an entire webinar on hashtags actually. And then the license, so how long you can use that content for. So whether it's 6 months or 12 months is kind of standard nowadays, but like making sure that, you might get this beautiful piece of content and then it comes to the end of your 1 year and you want to use it again, and suddenly you might have huge fees to reuse it. And in the advertising world, we're really used to that kind of process because we've been doing that with TV and radio talent for years. But for small business owners who are doing it themselves, these are the things you need to just be aware of.
Actually, I've just had a question pop up. I've said, this might be a dumb question, but what is a hashtag and how does it work?
Hashtag. Hashtag is a way of categorizing and finding information within a platform, especially on Twitter and on Instagram, though they are used on LinkedIn, and actually LinkedIn's just sort of getting them more and more. But basically, it's a way to kind of almost like put your content into a folder. So when like down there, we've got an example of if you see hashtag ad, people know that they were paid for that to put that content out. Or if they see hashtag gifted, they know that they were gifted the product that they're talking about. But you can have everything from hashtag fitness influencer to hashtag having a bad day to for the Rugby World Cup next year, we're going to wear hashtag RWC 2021.
Is it a link? Do you go somewhere, or is it just a tag?
It's a tag, but if you click on that, yes, you'll see all the other content in that feed.
Right.
Actually, a great little tip, top of mind while you say that, is if you're a small business owner and you're wondering what hashtags to use for your business, what I suggest you do is have a look at your contemporaries and what hashtags they're using, and sort of click into a few of them to see if they're applicable to your business, and also try and have one for yourself. So, you'd want hashtag Len Senior, for example, for your business, and I'd have like hashtag Wendy Thompson or Wendy Says or something. So you want to kind of your personal ones. Ideally, each post on Instagram, you actually want like 30 hashtags, which is a lot.
I'm just writing that down. I'm making some notes.
Yeah, 30 hashtags.
Thanks for the tip.
Yeah, tip for that is to put them all on your notes, like put them all on your phone,
and
then just copy and paste.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Okay, right. Yeah. Next time you see me do something, there'll be a hashtag.
Yeah, to definitely have at least 3, but like ideally like 30. Sounds stupid, but it works. Gives you it tweaks the algorithms. The algorithms like it at the moment. This would probably be completely irrelevant in 6 months' time, but right now, as of the end of 2020, it's a good piece of advice. Should we talk about the quote principle?
Can I just pause? One second. I had another question come in that actually talks about collaboration.
Oh, yes.
So the question is, how do you structure terms and conditions when collaborating with another company to ensure there's a balance of mutual benefits?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. It all comes down to expectations and being really clear. And I think that's such a great question, because you can be like, oh, can you just do this and do this? It doesn't have to be complicated, but I think it's really, really simple. In fact, this list here, the working with influencer list, you could almost just adjust that for your collaborations, as in like, okay, here's the piece of content. Is it going to be a story or a post? What time are we going to do it? Who's going to monitor it? What hashtags we're going to use? And when are we going to finish it? I'd almost use that as my checklist. And then that just becomes a simple agreement. I don't think you need to really get lawyers involved, but it's just an agreement in setting expectations.
Yep. So the key thing is to actually have an agreement, not just verbal. Yeah,
not just verbal. I think just even if it's just written and agreed and something in writing.
Yeah. Okay. And I was thinking another question.
Go for it.
This one is, so they're a supermarket.
Yeah.
So a supermarket product. So they're selling into supermarkets. So how do we drive online engagement for tangible sales when they're selling to supermarkets?
Oh, it's always a tricky one. I mean, at the end of the day, as you say, you can't really track the online sales if you're not selling online. So your job is actually reach and engagement. So your job is to actually build up a community and have them talking about your product all the time, so that when they walk into a supermarket,
Right.
you're top of mind. So in a way, that takes the pressure off. But I'd be focusing all my efforts on reach and engagement. So just so people know you, so you become one of the most known brands in your particular segment.
I guess that's where influencers come in handy as well. So here's a question.
Khloe Kardashian with Dose & Co.
Yeah.
I saw something the other day that like Walmart sold out, in like a weekend or something, because she talked about it. And so it's pretty powerful. Yeah, you just want to be talked about. So reach and engagement. Tell your story.
Okay. What about if you were trying to find, say, the person responsible for purchasing inside that supermarket chain, or the CEO? Would you stalk them on LinkedIn and then try and
turn up at the events that they're at? 100%.
Thought you'd say that.
100%. Yeah, no, I'm big on stalking. I love a good stalk. I think it's really important. It's basic 101 networking. We can call it networking, not stalking. But
good idea.
yeah, it's online networking. But yeah, you can definitely find everybody online who wants to be found. There's even, okay, I'll tell you a great story, but there's things you can actually do on LinkedIn where you can, for example, super sneaky, but if there was a CEO that I really wanted to get in touch with and make sure they're seen, and you can do targeting databases of about, I think, 20 people on LinkedIn. It used to be about 20 people when I last had a look at doing this, and you get everyone's emails. So what I would do is I would get an email, find the email of, say, the CEO that I wanted to target, upload 19 other emails of friends, and say the CEO was female. I'd make sure that all the friends that I put in were male, and then I'd do a targeting campaign, but just to the female audience in that LinkedIn group. And then that would be very, very targeted.
Nice.
That was a few years ago that we used to play with that game, but in general, like stalking / networking is really important.
Yeah, I might change my vocabulary and make it, networking sounds good, because I know, like in my business, I'm always looking for those sort of marketing people inside various corporates, and it is a matter of like prospecting, but also like a forensic sort of analysis to try and find them.
Yeah, you can do. I mean, it's pretty easy to like find them, as you say. You can use your VA over in the Philippines or whatever to find them. But then it's the most important way to actually connect with them online without turning up to events is to actually just get in conversations with them. If they're commenting on, the latest housing prices, jump in with your own opinions, and that's where thought leadership is really important.
Right. So that's if they're posting, then you jump in and like it, or you say something complimentary, or you add to the conversation.
100%. Start talking to them.
Right. And then you're not trying to sell them something. You might wait months, possibly.
Yeah. Gotcha. Ideally.
So
then saying that, because I don't know about you, but I get so many LinkedIn requests every day, which is like, hi, I've got this software that you should like have. And I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, I'm not going to, I think especially for B2B and like businesses like ours, services, people want to know you before they jump into bed with you. And so they need to know what you stand for. A good content strategy for thought leadership is really, really important. But as you know, it takes a lot of time. So I should talk about Coke now, shouldn't I?
Yeah, because that came up.
Perfect timing. I was just like, actually, and this is really useful. I mean, it's useful for every single business, but especially for B2B services businesses. And that's the create once, publish everywhere, which is exactly what a lot of social media agencies will tell you not to do. But I am a realist, and I know that this works, and it works really, really well. And here's a simple example using myself. And what I did here, so if I look at my brand values for my business and for myself, this is an article that I wrote early on in COVID about what your brand should be doing on social media during the pandemic lockdown. Yep. Really, really important, useful information to everyone that sort of follows me. But oh my goodness, what should I do on social media? So I wrote a blog and I popped it on LinkedIn as an article, and then I basically shared it onto my my Instagram, with a little image that I found using Unsplash, which is a free image library, really handy, with Don't Panic and a mask, which back then we weren't even really using masks. Now I'm like so on trend, which is great. I also put it down like just as a straight link on Facebook. Facebook can be a little bit funny, so you got to spend a little bit of time to make sure the link comes through properly and the image comes through, but you get it there in the end. And the other really great tip is that I use a tool called Linktree in my Instagram bio. Now my Instagram bio, you can only have one link in it. So I use linktree.ee enables you to put up a whole lot of links like this one here that you can see. And I've got, social media summits, and I've just highlighted that one there, social media during COVID-19. So that means that everybody that clicks through can just find whatever I've been talking about without me having to change my link all the time. So that's a good little tip for people. I'm not on Twitter a lot because my target audience isn't on Twitter. Like I'm a lurker, so I don't bother, but I could also be doing that as well. If I started to target more of the government sector, I'd also be putting that personally out on on Twitter as well. Something I should be doing if I want to work more with government, for example.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my example. Do you want to talk about that one a little bit more?
No, that's good. Thank you. So hacks. I like shortcuts.
Yeah, it's always good to have a few little tips. I wanted to leave everyone with a few things that I find personally so useful as a business owner. One is setting up message auto responses on Facebook. Really easy to do, literally just step by step. And think of it as like you're out of office. And you can have some fun with it as well. I've seen ones like, from hairdressers like, sorry, we're sweeping the floor of here right now, but we'll get back to you shortly. Or, we're in the kitchen burning your food, but we'll come back to you. Like you can have some fun, put some personality into them. They don't have to be quite plain. I'm a really big believer or big proponent, and probably should have shares in Canva, which is a great app if you aren't a graphic designer. Like you don't need to know Photoshop and design. It's just these templates and makes everything look beautiful. And it's so great because it's like, just on your phone.
Sure.
You can just make all your posts, no matter how bad a photo you take, you can make it look good, which is great. Planoly is your savior for scheduling a whole lot of posts in advance. It's a really great tool, very easy. All of these are free, by the way, which is great. And then Mojo is my new one that I've just fallen in love with. And it's kind of orange, looks like that. Oops, not now. Looks like this. And basically you upload photos into that and they make really pretty stories, like Instagram stories, which just gives it a bit of a polish. And I've decided this year to make my social media look a bit more polished, and it just gives me sort of a tone and a feel to do that really easily. Makes everything look glam. Basically, it turns us all into graphic designers.
Because that's the problem, isn't it? Where you post something and it doesn't look so good, and a lot of people. So can I drop you in it? Can I get a live example?
Of course.
So phoebesenior.com.
Okay. Am I going onto a website, am I? Let's see how I go. This is this one here.
Yeah. So Phoebe's my daughter, and she's just started an art business, which is really tough if you're an artist trying to sell stuff. I did say she should maybe lop off an ear, and she might make a lot more money. So what do you think she should be doing for her business? Okay, so just got it up on screen now, everybody. So this is Phoebe. She's an artist residing in Marlborough. Okay. Well, first thing I always do is I always go to the about, because I kind of like to see, what's she all about, what she's talking about. Okay, obsession with animals. Okay, I'm liking this. Liking the behind the scenes sort of photos. Yeah. What else is kind of cool to? So maybe I'll just jump into the paintings to see what work she's doing. Oh, now this is interesting. So here, if you read while painting this works, I'm engulfed in the serenity, constantly mixing shades and flicking my wrist with a paintbrush to get the smallest of strokes of her. So this is beautifully written. So I'd be wanting to really bring this to life on her social media. Right. This sort of feeling here, I'd say this is the sort of feel. So let's see if this kind of
engulfed in serenity, constantly mixing shades and flicking my wrist. That's the sort of things I'd be wanting to look at, bringing that through. So probably first things first, making sure she's got like 30 hashtags on each Instagram post. And we can see she's got Facebook and Instagram, so that's great. I'd have a hashtag for Phoebe. So like hashtag Phoebe Senior Artist is one to put on everything.
Yep.
Just having a look on my phone, and her Instagram feed is really lovely. It's kind of got the mustards and yellows and things like that, which is great.
So what about influencers? Like, so just some of the things you talked about, how would she get to an influencer? What type of people would be relevant?
So
and that Cope principle, maybe, what could she do?
Yeah, so when she does, so just looking at her Instagram and her Facebook, on my little phone here, what I could see that she's putting up posts on Facebook and Instagram, which are, she is creating once and posting to both, which is great. What I'd like to see is probably more copy, more of these words, sort of to bring that personality to life. And I'd love to see some Instagram stories of behind the scenes, like the day in the life of Phoebe, kind of getting into her head. Unless it's scary, Glenn, maybe you don't want to see that, but I'm sure it's fine. So I'd sort of like that kind of like bringing people on the journey of how she creates the work, because people, they love the work, but they also, you know, especially with art, you know, if you look at your Damien Hirst thing, you're not really buying a shark and formaldehyde. You're actually buying the story and the energy behind it. So I think artists give that to their art. So you need to bring that to life on social, which Instagram storying every day would be really great. In terms of like collaborations, because I see she's got some work with some exhibitions. So I'd be looking at doing some collaborations with people around. Very cool. So with the galleries, be looking at maybe doing some collaborations with them in terms of sharing content. So not necessarily, like we've talked about competitions, but it doesn't have to be a collaboration, doesn't have to be a competition. It can be just let's both post about what we're doing. And influence, like when I look at her work, I don't know why, but it reminds me of fashion brands in terms of the but it'll have to come from Phoebe's heart about which other brands that she feels an affinity with. But there might be a fashion brand that might speak to her, because I just look at the leopard skin and I sort of think like Trelise Cooper-y kind of stuff straight away comes into my head. But there might be some brands like that she could do collaborations with. It'd be quite fun. Have a gallery in a fashion store. That would be cool.
So should she could contact Trelise, right, and say, hey, I'll put some of my art on your store for free. We'll do some joint promos. We'll take photos and we'll put it through both our social media accounts. Was a really good example. Would that be right? I would, 100% do that. Something like that. And it's like Trelise might not be right for her, so she needs to think about who's the brands that she feels speak to her. I just see that because I just saw the leopard and just seeing that collection later recently. But it's the great kind of freeing thing to do, which is, as a business owner, is you own your own business, and like it's your values and what you like. It's kind of the fun part about owning your own business. So it's going, okay, which other brands do I like? Do I feel connect with? And then just having that courageous chat with them to go, okay, how can we help each other? Right now in New Zealand, it's all about shopping local and supporting each other. So it's never been an easier or better time. People are very kind, very open to ideas and opportunities. Yeah, and then just listening to you, it seems to me that maybe people could show a bit more under the hood, like the background and what you're doing and staff and the whole industry, or not your lifestyle, but if you're passionate about something, then give glimpses of other bits. Is that kind of a good summary?
That's perfect, Lynn. It's all about, especially this year, my friend Claudia coined the term and I've been using it everywhere, but it's radical humanness. So people want to see radical humanness, and that's what, Jacinda's so good at doing. It's sort of showing that vulnerableness and genuineness and what you're passionate about. Like, people buy passion, they don't buy things. So we used to talk about in marketing things like, you're not selling a hammer, you're selling a hole. Sure. But I remember that one. It's like, oh, kill me now. But actually, I think people are buying people. Like, they want to feel connected to that brand, and that's why influencers work so well. That's why collaborations work so well. People aren't just buying, and if you look at products, boring products like, petrol, you're not just buying convenience and a product that you kind of a grudge purchase. You're actually brands spend a lot of money trying to build some energy and emotion and passion around the brand. So you're actually supporting the local petrol attendant, So
yeah, sure. No, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I think
just show that humanness, show that behind the scenes, be open, be vulnerable. It's scary.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So I guess to summarize, it's almost maybe two parts. There's the social media posting, advertising, doing all the social media bits that you can do on a platform, which everybody can do. And then there's the other part, which is the collaborating influencers and actually working under the hood for that useful word to actually make sure you amplify all those things. Is that a good summary?
Yeah, 100%. That's a very good summary.
How do people get hold of you if they want to use you or contact details?
Should I try and put my screen up again? But basically, should I give it a go? So techie. Basically, I'm on all the social media platforms as Wendy Socialites, which is kind of quite an easy way to find me.
Yeah.
And I am also and I'm also at wendy@socialites.co.nz, which is easy. And you can sort of see. Oh, I don't even have it on there. That's embarrassing, but that's right. But if you go to socialites.co.nz, you sort of find all my channels, and just Wendy Socialites to find me on the LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I am on Twitter. I will eventually respond. TikTok, Snapchat. I'm on all the things.
Should be.
Yes, it's YouTube. You'll find me. But yeah, I absolutely love talking to small and medium-sized businesses. With the pandemic this year, we put a real focus onto helping them. Traditionally we've worked with a lot of big, large enterprise companies, but I've always had a passion for small and medium-sized businesses. So we're sort of building up our product offerings to work with them. So
sure.
Big and small, come and see me, and I'd love to help.
Yeah, no, thank you. So just to summarize, thanks everyone for tuning in. There's been a huge number of people, and thanks for the questions. There's a few more questions that we haven't got time for, but we'll answer them in the follow-up email. Thanks to BNZ for hosting the Connect series. I think it's great to hear expertise from the front line, and I think that whole small business segment is something that needs to be promoted and supported, and it's always, small business is always the way of the future for me and for most economies. So, but to summarize, thanks very much. I appreciate your time, Wendy. You've been great. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Glenn. It's been wonderful. See you soon.
Yep. Bye-bye.